just leave like an emoji. Let me know that you are all with me. Let's see some emojis, people. Thank you very much to the host. I have to take special time to thank them. Thank you, Collins. I can see your emoji. And thank you to the host for this session. It does mean a lot to me. And thank you to everyone joining this session. And I know that IT Skill Center has been doing justice to the tech ecosystem. Yeah. So we're going to go right into this. Sorry, just 1 second. Okay, please, if at any time you stop seeing the slides I'm sharing, kindly let me know because it suddenly went off on my phone. Okay, I think I have seen the problem. Okay, so it should be back very soon. It should be back soon. Okay, so it's back. All right, so I'm just going to go right into this. We are looking at product thinking for techies. Why coding alone is not enough. So I want to believe, and if I'm not right, please correct me. I want to believe we have engineers on this call, developers here. So in the course of my career, I have worked with a number of developers, and this has allowed me to be able to really understand the pain points of developers here. And working with developers, I know that developers are very useful here in the tech ecosystem. A lot has been achieved and will still be achieved with developers here. I'm getting a notification here that my audio is not loud enough. If that is if I'm not loud enough, kindly let me know. All right, thank you. Please confirm that you can still see my slides.
Oh yeah, Daniel, we can't see your slide again. I think.
Okay, I think I'll have to share again. All right. So I will be directing most of what I have to say today to the developers, and reason being that I have worked closely with developers and I see a gap here. I see a gap where effectiveness meets efficiency. I see a gap where quantity has to meet up with quality here. And during the course of what I'm going to be saying today, I'm going to try to close that gap. All right. And there'll be room for questions. At some point, I might pause and, if there are one or two questions, take the questions and continue. So most developers think it's their job to write clean, efficient, well-documented code, which is true. Yeah. But clean code alone solves the wrong problem and it can be wasted effort if they are not going beyond just writing clean code. Yeah. And over the times we have glorified coding as if it's the whole game. Coding is a vehicle. And as a developer, knowing that coding is a vehicle, it's important that you don't become a dump truck. A dump truck in the sense that you just focus on collecting tasks. You're a task taker. You're a tire kicker. When the task is available, you're there to get the task done. It is good, but that alone is not sufficient to scale your career to the level that you really need it to get to. Yeah, and I'm going to be addressing that today. So it's about writing smarter code, about writing code that really matters, understanding the why behind the task. So you're given a task. It's not just go and work on this feature, go and fix this API, go and fix this endpoint. This thing is breaking. No, you have to understand the reason why that thing is working, how it is working, how it should be working in the first place. Yeah, you need to understand the reason why that thing is there in the first place. You need to understand the reason why you were asked to implement that feature that way. You need to understand the reason why marketing is saying what they are saying about the users. You understanding all of these would help you to write code in a smarter way. So coding alone isn't enough. Great developers don't just write efficient code, they write meaningful code. And as we go on, we are going to really understand what I mean by meaningful code. A lot of developers are quite efficient, which is applaudable. Yeah, I work with developers and I would say they are very important. Developers are extremely important here. It's applaudable that developers are efficient, but I believe there are certain levels in your career that you want to get to. And to get to those levels, you need to learn to write code in a smart way. There are developers who build features and there are developers who build products. The first ones, which are the ones that build features, just get it task. The second ones actually shape the companies. So diving deeper into product thinking, Steve Wozniak built the first Apple computer. Yeah, with Jobs, with Steve Jobs. That was the technical brilliance in Apple. Steve Jobs is the person that actually asked, how do we make this into something people want to use? Now, he didn't say, how do we make this into something people can use? If he has said can use, it means he's given his target market options. You can use it or you can use a substitute from another company. No. He said, how do we make this product into something people want to use? And that is why today um, Apple devices here, I would say, are to kill for. Why? Because they have really understood what the users want. You know, the market is always looking for people that get them, people that are relatable. Yeah. And so far, with what Apple has built over time, they have built something that people look at and they're like, okay, this company actually gets me. It's not just about the products. It's not just about the iPhone, the iPad, the Mac. No, it's not just about that. It's about the culture that these companies have consistently portrayed both in their organization and in the marketplace. And that culture is what gets people saying Apple understands what we want here. At Airbnb, the engineers used to optimize um, load times and the infrastructure and all that. But at some point, they had to make a shift. They had to make a shift from code to context. And making that shift from code to context helped them to change everything. And what happened? They started thinking beyond the load optimizers and started asking themselves, what do our hosts and guests want here? And they realized that there's one key factor that they can build on, which is trust. If they can, if they can market very well with trust, they can get the hosts and the guest to understand each other, they can get the host to provide for the guest to what the guest wants. And while all of these exchanges are taking place, Airbnb is at the forefront. The brand Airbnb is being sold. Yeah, so they weren't just thinking of, okay, what features should be on the web app, what features should be on the website, what features should be on the mobile app. It's not just about the feature. They need to ask themselves, what are we building for? What can we leverage on? And they decided that they were going to leverage on trust. Yeah, so leveraging on trust actually helps them to build the brand Airbnb that we see today. Yeah. I think my screen has gone off again. Sorry, I'm just going to have to reshare so that you don't miss out on this. Okay, so it should be back up now in a few seconds. Sorry, for some reason, my laptop Wi-Fi keeps on going off. So it's disconnecting from
Okay. Hello, Daniel. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay. So how about we do it this way? Can you share the slide with me? Then I will, present it from here. How about that?
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
That is very fine. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. Let me just try to get this done as quickly as possible. Quality. Quality means focusing on the degree to which the goals are met and the impact of the results. Yeah. So from focusing on just features to focusing on the outcomes, from writing software to building systems that actually matter. So developers who think like product people don't just, write functions. They start asking smarter questions. Who is this for? We can go to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. They start asking smarter questions like, who is this for? What problem are we solving? How do we measure success? Those are the questions that they are asking. All right. So, so let's get practical. What is product thinking, and why does it matter if you already know how to code? So previously, I have already touched on product thinking. I've given an intro to what product thinking is about. Yeah. And now we want to dive deeper into what product thinking is about. All right. So let's go to the next slide. Coding is execution and product thinking is direction. So there are two different things. Coding is about execution and product thinking is about direction. Code answers how something works. Product thinking asks why it should exist at all. So think of it this way. Coding is like driving fast. You are efficient, technical, impressive. But product thinking is the map. It ensures you're driving to the right place. And without the map, speed is useless. Without the map, your direction will be all over the place. So you need the map to ensure that you're actually heading to the right place. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you. Code is like your technical ability, yeah, syntax, tools, frameworks, and all of that. But context is you understanding the user, the market, the goal, and the business impact. And that is why the product discovery session is very important. There's the product design session, there's the product discovery. Being a part of the product discovery session, brainstorming with QA, with design, with other members on your team is really important so that you know exactly what the company you are working with is solving for. Yeah, and that's why it's really, really important. We can go to the next slide. Thank you. So when you merge both, when you merge context and you merge code, you build smarter. You go from just writing a simple login system to designing an onboarding system that converts. Yeah, it's not just about okay, how are the okay, this is the architecture that we are using for this onboarding process. This is the architecture we're using for this authentication flow. Go and implement it. No, you need to ask, why are we using this architecture? Is it going to be relevant going forward? If we onboard this kind of user and this kind of user and this kind of user, is this architecture still going to be relevant? Do you guys think we should scrap this one? There's a difference between mission critical features and nice to have. And in the African market, we need to tell ourselves the truth. We need to be realistic so that experience doesn't teach you to be realistic. We need to be realistic and tell ourselves the truth of what is actually happening in the African market. And if what we are building is actually in need, if what we are building can actually scale in the African market, yeah. The rest of the world is looking at Africa, yeah. They believe in the talents in Africa. They believe in the minds that Africa has, yeah. But they are also struggling with the reality of Africans. I read a post sometime by someone from Silicon Valley where the person was talking about a session where some founders came to pitch. And while they were pitching, a white founder came forward and pitched an app that helps you to know the clothes you're going to wear for each day of the week. You upload, all the pictures of your clothes on the app, and it tells you which clothes to wear for each day of the week. And they funded it. It's Silicon Valley. It was funded. And a founder from Africa came forward and was talking about generating power here, generating power, not using solar, not using any of this technology that already works. I can't remember the technology exactly, but about we having power at home through a certain technology. And they didn't fund that idea. Why? Because they couldn't relate with that realism. It wasn't their reality. They didn't fund it. In 2025, you're still having issues with light. It was a brilliant idea, no doubt. It was a brilliant idea. But this just goes on to tell us that when we are building, we need to be very realistic with ourselves. Here, there's a lot of potential in the African market. A lot is going on right now. There's a lot of potential, and some products will survive, some will not survive. Some will survive, and some will thrive. There's a difference. There's not surviving, there's surviving, and there's thriving. All right. So, in the spirit of product thinking, every great developer, every great builder that you admire is obsessed with context and not just code. Elon Musk said something that you don't just optimize for the thing you are making, you optimize for the system it lives in. Don't optimize for the thing you are making, optimize for the system it lives in. It means look beyond where you are standing. Our own founder here in Africa said, Africa's biggest opportunities lie in understanding local problems deeply before going ahead to build. Africa's biggest opportunities lie in understanding local problems deeply before you go ahead to build. Somebody's camera is on, and I don't think the person is aware. Please check your phones so that you don't display what you didn't intend to display. All right, thank you. Next slide, please. So in the next slide, still on this part, this is from a French film director named Robert Bresson, and he said something which is really important. He said, now he's speaking to movie directors. He said, shoot what it should be, not what it is. So you know how you would watch a movie, and when you're done, the rating you will give that movie will be very high. Why? Because the experience you got from that movie was rich. And that experience came about from the details, the attention to details in that movie. Someone would touch a car and you see the finger somewhat on the car. Someone will um, come out in the cold and you would see vapor coming out from their mouth and nose. The little details that we seem to forget, that we seem to not see rather until maybe when we see some clips of that movie on social media and the person is like, this is a detail that you miss out. And we see it and we're like, oh, yes, it's true. I didn't see this thing. But those little attention to details actually form a very relatable experience with you. And that's why you can rate some movies. That's one of the reasons, not all of the reasons, but one of the reasons why you can rate some movies higher than others because of the attention to detail. Now, Breston's version of the idea was that a director shouldn't just reproduce reality as it appears, but to reveal its inner truth. And that is one of the things. I digress at this point. That is one of the things that I feel that our movie industry here in Nigeria is still struggling with. Here, you have a village setting. A poor girl wants to marry a poor boy wants to marry the daughter of the chief. There's a herbalist and this. So it's just plain. Yeah, it's just as it appears to be in everyday life. They don't try to draw out an inner truth from it. Yeah, the essence of what is seen or a moment actually means. Yeah, so it's not just about a director here shooting what it looks like. In the words of Robert, he said, make something visible that without you, others might not have seen that thing. So you being on the scene, you can bring something to life in such a way that if you were not there, that thing would not have been unearthed. It would not have been produced. Yeah. So your relevance is seen in every moment that is spent with you. So now that we have unpacked what product thinking really means, let's not talk about how it plays out. Let's dive deeper rather into how it plays out in everyday life. So we can go to the next slide. So let's get more real at this point and look at each one of these that I have listed here. Building with the user in the room, even when they are not there, coding for outcomes and not outputs, like I have already stressed. Coding for outcomes and not outputs. Collaborating like a product owner, shipping small and learning fast. See yourself as a builder and not just a coder. So the reason for this session is we are challenging you to not just be a developer that writes code for tickets, be a developer that writes code for people. Learn to step back and ask yourself, why does this matter to the user? So before every feature, you can ask yourself, who will use it? Remember the ideal customer profile that I talked about? Who will use it? What pinpoint does it remove? And how can I know it works? In one of my posts on social media, I talked about alliances. I tend to be very close with product designers because I can brainstorm with them and ask certain questions. I can run through user workflows with them, ask questions. Why is this thing here? Okay, if we change this user flow to this, how is it going to impact what we refer to as success for this feature? Yeah. So forming strong alliances with design, forming strong alliances with QA is also very important for you. Yeah, those alliances will help you. It would not only will it form a stronger bond for the team, but it will help you to be very open with the people that you're working with. You can rely on them to tell you things that you should know. It's just like a product manager that is not close to the people in marketing. Yes, you don't have to oversee people in marketing, but you need to be close to them so that they can tell you exactly what the market feedback is. Yeah. So if you cannot answer who will use it, what pain point it does, how can I know it works, and what do we define as success for this particular feature? If you cannot answer these questions, it means you are coding blindfolded. And you don't want to code blindfolded. You don't want to be a task taker. You want to be someone that actually codes for outcomes and not outputs. So applying product thinking. The first part, build with the user in the room, even when the user is not there. There's something that Jeff Bezos started that other companies started to copy. He calls it the empty chair method. The empty chair method. When they come into a meeting, they leave one chair empty, and that chair is supposed to represent the user. So perspective is everything. Now, this is a psychological game. As they are debating amongst themselves what should stay, what should not stay, they are conscious of the fact that the user is in the room with them, even though it's just an empty chair, but that empty chair represents the user. So it makes them conscious. Before they conclude on what should stay and what should go, they are subconsciously asking themselves, what does the user have to say about this? Yeah. So they ask themselves in that meeting, okay, now we have decided they should go and they should say, what does the user have to say about this? So it helps them to think like the user. And that's why the empty chair method is effective. I won't say was because it is still being used, so is effective. Number two, code for outcomes and not for outputs. Product thinkers build with metrics in mind. It's not just about being a data scientist, or rather, it's not about being a data scientist. Yeah, it's about knowing that your build has a purpose. Your build is meeting a need. It's solving for a pain point. You know that your build has a purpose. Number three, collaborate like a collaborate like a product owner. So you being a meeting would require that, or rather, you being on a team. Let me not just leave it to meetings. You being on a team would require that you don't just sit at the end of the product chain and wait for the handoff to come to you. You can also shape the conversation. You are there to shape the conversation, and that's why you are on a team. You are not expected to work inside you. You're there to actually shape the conversation. So you should be asking questions like, what does success mean to us on this team? We building this product. What does success mean to us with this product that we're building? Number four, ship small and learn fast. Startups seem to move faster than larger organizations. And that's because for a startup, they tend to use their feedback as features, not an afterthought. When a user gives a feedback to a startup, the way they double down and focus on that feature that that feedback is tied to and ensure that they they ship it fast. They fix the issue, they ship it fast, they learn, they iterate, they do it at an amazing pace. Why? Because they're a startup. The energy is still there. And they're like, no, 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 no. We just have three users on board. We can't lose them. So the energy is there. And they're going. But larger organizations tend to be a bit more relaxed. Like in the case of Paystack, when Paystack came in, bit by bit iterations were made for their payment flows, until they had a frictionless user experience. They realized that it's not just about these merchants, being able to receive payments. No, the user experience must be frictionless. And they realized that it's something that the banks were really struggling with. I mean, there was once a time that, before we had the mobile apps and all of that, that when you want to pay your school fee, you have to take the cash to the bank. We have evolved. We have evolved, and every year, especially now with AI, every year is going to be birthing something new. There was a time that we had to physically take cash to the bank, to deposit and all that. But now it's there's less friction. Yeah. But what Paystack did when they came out, and this cost the banks to really sit up because they became a threat to the banks. Yeah. What Paystack did, how they iterated, really sets them apart in the financial space. Yeah. Number five, see yourself as a builder, not just a coder. Smart developers see themselves as their medium. Yeah. They see, sorry, not themselves. They see code as their medium, not just their identity. Yeah. They don't say, okay, I I code. Yes, we know that you code. Yeah, but they see it as a medium to transact. They see it as a medium um to transport value. Yeah. So product thinking means that you build value, not just software. You're not just building software, you're also building value. It's about solving the real problem, not just executing what is visible. Remember, remember what Robert Bresson said. It's what it should be, not what it is. Yeah. So it's about solving the real problem, not just executing the visible problem. And once you start thinking like that, it positions you as an engineer who doesn't just wait for directions, but actually becomes the direction. So you sit in rooms and they see you as a partner. You are part of the direction. All right. So I'm almost at the end of this. I would finish before we go into questions. All right. So we've seen how product thinking transforms your steady work. Now let's see how it elevates your career. And we can go to the next slide now. Thank you. Let's see how product thinking can elevate your career. So we have spoken so much about product thinking, what it is, how it can be put into play, and let's dive deeper into that. So here I have 4 points that can accentuate this. Product thinkers become indispensable. Yeah, it makes you bridge. It makes you the bridge between teams, from design to quality assurance. It makes you the bridge between teams, from design to the user. It makes you the bridge between teams. You build products that outlive the hype, from developer to builder to founder. So how does product thinking elevate your career? Because product product thinking doesn't just make you a better developer; it makes you a strategic builder. And in today's tech world, that is the currency that can actually help you move your career forward. So on the first one, product thinkers become indispensable. If an engineer is insightful, that engineer is considered to be more valuable than an engineer who isn't. An engineer that brings insights to the team is considered to be more valuable than an engineer who isn't, because anyone can learn Python, anyone can learn React, anyone can learn Next.js. Not everyone can connect user pain to business values. And that is why product-minded developers are likely to scale faster in their careers. Why? Because they are driving decisions, not just executing instructions. They are not just task takers, they are decision drivers. And this kind of thinking, you thinking like a product person, ensures that you will not be treated like a task taker, but instead you'll be treated more like a partner. They would say, no, we need this person in this meeting, not just because the person is a developer, not just because the person is front end back end, no, because the person um, understands the vision of the company. Number two, it makes you the bridge between teams. You know, there's something valuable about becoming the person that everyone wants in the room. And if you are a developer that thinks like a product person, yeah, you understand the user pain, you speak the business goals, and you know how to execute it with code, you start being invited into bigger conversations. Because just like I said, they understand that this person is a decision driver. And you know how to build products that outlive the hype. A lot of products have been built in the past that were like a flash in the pan, a spark in the pan. Here today, gone tomorrow. They were just there for the hype. But some, like the ones I've mentioned on this seminar, some have outlived the hype, and that's because they asked themselves the right questions. They asked themselves the right questions. They knew how to ask the right questions. Over time, the frameworks that we use will change. By next year, again, AI is going to help us move faster in this evolution journey that we are currently on here. About 10 years ago, we had the waterfall method in project management. Now we have Agile. There was a time we had jQuery, and now we have React and Next.js. So the frameworks will always change. And this is the reason why Amazon has remained what it is over the past 25 years. That's because they never stopped solving for the customer. They never stopped solving for the user. One of Jeff Bezos' famous quote is that he obsesses over the customer. Yes, he understands, the competition and everything, but he doesn't obsess over the competition. So I have been in this business space for quite a while, and one of the mistakes that I've seen is that a lot of business owners tend to obsess over the competition. Oh, what's the competition doing? Oh, let's understand everything that they're doing. Let's do what they are doing and more. No, it's not about doing what they're doing and more. Because what they are doing might not even be solving the pain points of their users. So yes, you can understand what you're doing, but don't obsess over it. Don't assume that what they are doing is actually solving for the pain point. You need to know what your ICP is. Knowing what your ICP is, knowing how to ask the right questions would ensure that you are actually solving for the pain points of your users. So it's also good that you anchor your career to principles and not just tools. The tools are useful, the tools are important, but it's not just about the tools. The principles will help you go further. The tools will change, the tools will evolve. What will keep you rooted, what will keep you grounded are your principles. Yeah. And this can also help you move from developer to builder to founder. Yes, I know it's not everybody wants to become a founder. Not everybody will become a founder. We cannot have everybody become a founder, but we can have teams thinking like founders. That is the goal. That's what product thinking is about. You don't have to become a founder. You can think like a founder. You think like a builder. And we have seen that in most of Africa's leading tech founders. They started as developers. Look at of Flutterwave and Candela. Look at Shola Akinlade of Paystack. Look at Oduayo of Piggyvest. They didn't just write code, they saw opportunities in human behavior. They saw friction in people's everyday lives and decided to build solutions that make sense, solutions that actually solve for the pain points that the users are facing. Yeah. So at this point, we can wrap this up. Let's move to the next slide. We can wrap this up and say, stop building for features, start building impact. You're not just developers, you're builders of human experience. The best engineers of this generation, from Amazon to Paystack, from Flutter, just build apps. They build solutions that shaped behavior. Product thinking is what separates a coder from a creator. There's a difference. Product thinking is what ensures that you're not just efficient, but you are effective. Insight is not cheap. Yeah, you understanding why something needs to exist, who it helps, and what value it creates. That is really good insight. So, as we come to a close on this session, here's a challenge for you. The next time you write a line of code, picture the human on the other side of the screen. Remember Jeff Bezos' empty chair? Having an empty chair in the room with us. Picture the human that is going to use that feature you're building or that product you're building. Picture the human on the other end of the screen. Just imagine that as you write the code and push it, the user gets a notification on their mobile app saying, this person, let's assume it highlights your name as the developer. This person just pushed this. This developer just pushed this, check it out. So just assume that it's going straight from your code base, it's going straight to the user's phones. That's actually the trajectory, but it goes, from different environments until it gets to the prod and it shows up as an update. Well, let's assume it's just a thin line, a straight line that goes straight from your code base to the user's phones. And it's giving the users an update on who pushed that update. It's giving the users a notification on who pushed that update. So picture the human on the other end of the screen when next you're writing a line of code. And the next time you think, I'm just an engineer, remind yourself, you are not just an engineer, you are shaping how the world interacts with technology, line by line, choice by choice. All right, so we can go to the last slide. Start building with intention, build with empathy, build with clarity. That's the difference between shipping features and shipping value. Because in the end, great products aren't built by great coders. They are built by people who care enough to think. They are built by people who care enough to think. And that will bring me to the end of my session. Thank you very much. Now we can take questions.
All right. Thank you, Daniel, for that insightful presentation. We will move into the QA section, and if you have questions, please drop them in the chat box or raise your hand, and I will call you directly to ask the question. If you have a question, you can drop them in the chat box, or just raise your hand, and I'll call you directly. Okay. So yeah, while I'm waiting for questions from our audience, so yeah, once again, Daniel, thank you for that presentation. Right. So you mentioned that product thinking is direction, right? So I would like to ask, how can a junior developer practically develop the mindset earlier in their career? This is directed to junior developers, more like entry-level developers, right? So how can they practically develop this mindset early in their career?
All right. Thank you very much. So how can a junior developer develop the product thinking mindset early in their career? So you need to see yourself as a product leader. I mentioned that it's all about perception. How do you perceive yourself, first of all? How do you perceive yourself? Do you see yourself as someone that is just going to write code? Okay, I'm just going to be a front end developer. I'm going to learn Next.js. I'm going to learn TypeScript and this, and I'm just going to start pitching to companies. Now there is that aspect of putting in the work, where you have to have these experiences curated on your CV. Yeah, you have to actually go out and gather those experiences and curate it on your CV. But the mindset with which you do it is what will determine how you are going to scale. Not if, because you will definitely scale, but how you're going to scale. How quickly you're going to move from level to level. Yeah. So having the mindset of a product leader, yeah, seeing yourself as not just a tire kicker, not just a task taker that is sitting behind his or her laptop and just taking feedback. Okay, I have to fix this bug. I have to work on this API, this and this. You don't see yourself just as that, but you see yourself as someone who is building for users. You are building to solve pain points. You are building a product that will, like I said, outlive the hype. You're building something that is going to cross borders, the borders of countries. It's going to go from Nigeria to Kenya into South Africa. It's going to go to Canada. It's going to go to the UK. You're seeing yourself as a product leader that is going to drive that change. So you developing that mindset early on is what will help you to position to scale in your career as a junior developer. Yeah, so you ask the question, why am I building this? Not just what should I build? Yes, there are times when you ask yourself, what should I build? Yeah, but when you start building, ask yourself why. Because just like Simon Sinek is a marketer. Just like Simon Sinek said, when your why is strong, then you find the internal motivation that you need to keep going. See, external motivation can be just like I said, if a flash in the pan. Now, what we have done here, this is external motivation. If you don't know how to convert this into internal motivation, the feel that you need inside of you to drive you in the direction that you really want to go and to get you to the place you really need to get to, it simply means that you have a weak why. But if you have a strong why, if you wake up every morning and your why is what gets you out of bed, your why is what pushes you to complete that documentation. Whether you're feeling tired or sleepy, you're like, no, I have to get this thing done. Once you have a strong why, the reason why you started in the first place, yeah, that's why you also need to have a good starting point. Have a good reason why you're starting. I understand that the basis of human existence is tied to survival. I just want to survive. I just want to get to the next day. I understand that aspect. Yeah, but there's room for us to go from survival to freedom. There's room for us to go from surviving to thriving, and it's all about the mindset that you bring into the marketplace.
All right, that's thank you for that response. I believe everyone, on the call right now, listening to your voice, they pick one or two things from that response, right? As a junior developer, mindset matters. And you mentioned something. You mentioned a quote from, I can't remember the author, that when you know the why, then it gives you more ginger to keep going, right? When your why is strong, yeah, I think I like that. And I mean, it's applicable to every area of lives, general. When you have a strong reason, a strong why that you are working towards, that keeps you going, right? And as a junior developer, right, you have a reason why you are embarking on that journey, to become one of the best developer. There are best developer, there are great developer, and there are, there's this thing we used to say, in IT Skill Center, that there are good developers and there are great developers. So it's up to you to choose which one you want to be, right? You want to be a good developer, you want to be a great developer who understand users' perspective from from users point of view, right? Yeah, thank you. And we have a question in the chat box. It says, let me read it out. Or if that person, if you want to speak, you can unmute yourself to ask this question in person, or I can just read it out. It's up to you. All right, so we have a question in the chat box. It says, is it more effective for a techie to get feedback from a user, or when the techie imagine themselves as the user? I would want to believe that knowing what a feature does limits the imagined user's experience. All right, so the question is from Ross. I don't know if you get that, Daniel. Is in the chat box?
Yes, I do. Is it more effective for a techie to get feedback from a user, or when a techie imagines themselves as the user? Okay, so I don't know if you have started attending stand-up meetings. Yeah. So during the stand-up calls, you give your updates, and there are some other calls where you get feedback from QA here, and you might not be getting feedback from the users directly. Yeah. So asking which one is more effective, I would just like to clarify them. Getting feedback from a user will come through QA and marketing. Yeah. When the feedback comes in, what I'm trying to say, where product thinking is required, is before you take the next step, first of all, you need to understand what the problem is, because understanding the problem is halfway to getting the solution. Yeah, when you understand the problem, you can then prepare the right solution. Now, the level to which you understand the problem will now determine what kind of solution you're going to provide. Yeah, the level to which you understand the problem determines the kind of solution you're going to provide. And how can you have a richer understanding of the problem? By the questions you're asking. Yeah, so when you get that feedback, you having the idea, you putting yourself in the place of the user, ensures that when you are coming up with a solution, whether individually or as a team, you are not doing it because that is what you can do. You are doing it because this is what will not just help the product scale, but this is what will fix the pain point of this user. So regardless of where the feedback is coming from, whether you're getting it directly from the user as a techie, or you're getting it from QA, or it came from your product manager, regardless of where it's coming from, first thing is you need to really understand what it is you're being asked to do. And you asking the right questions. Why are we doing this? How is it going to impact what we define as success? Is it going to take us closer to our goals, or is it going to slow us down from actually getting to our goals? here. So you can just take that feedback and go and implement. True, but that is not very efficient. That means you're not positioning yourself, as a product um, person. You're not positioning yourself as a product thinking person. Yeah. So you training yourself to ask the right questions, especially in meetings like this, would open your mind to the possibilities of what a feature can be. You open your mind to really understanding what this product is being built for. Yeah. So regardless of where the feedback is coming from, you have to understand what the user really wants. So that you yourself, because one thing I realize is for developers, you are building the product from the very first um, tag that you open and close. You are building the product scratch to finish. So you would really understand how the product works because you built every single thing that is being seen on the UI. You built every single thing. So you would know how the product works. It's one thing to know how the product works. It's another thing to know actually if this product is meeting the pain points of the user. Because see, you're in that company. That company has to scale. That company has to move forward fast. That company has to become recognized on a more global level fast. It will also impact your CV. The faster a company can achieve its goals, the better it is for your career. Because if you get into a company that becomes a unicorn, your market value has changed automatically. Your market value has changed. Now, if somebody is in a company and um, the rate at which iteration is going on is slow because they are not really solving for the user. They are bringing in a lot of features and they're not targeting the pain points of the user. So adoption is also low. Rate of adoption is low. Yeah, that company will not scale fast. That company will not move forward fast. If that company is meant to be a unicorn in 5 years, the company might end up being a unicorn in 10 years or 15 years because adoption rate was really slow. They weren't focusing on the right metrics that they should focus on. So everybody on the team. So I am talking about developers here because those are the people I have here. But everybody on the team needs to know how to ask the right questions. Yeah. So try to imagine yourself as a user and ask yourself, this feedback I'm getting from the user, if I was the user, how will I want my experience with this feature to be like? Did I answer that question?
All right. Thanks for the response. Ross, I hope you are satisfied with that response. Yeah. Okay, we have some other people in the chat box who want to ask questions. All right, Olamide, you can unmute yourself and ask a question. We have Kingdom, we have Emmanuel also. So Olamide, let's have your question. Unmute yourself and ask a question. Hello, Olamide, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, all right. Please go ahead and ask a question.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel, for that wonderful piece. It's
You're
really
welcome.
impactful and insightful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a product designer. So I
Okay.
want to ask this question from the place of user experience. Hello?
Yes,
Can
yes. Go on, please.
Now, imagine you have a product idea you want to bring to life. During your research, you find out that majority of the users have not actually, probably you want to introduce an idea where people can actually use something on an app, probably solve a problem on the app. Now, during your research, you find out that majority of your users have not solved that problem using an app. So my question is, how can you influence user behavior to use that app when you find out that based on your research, the larger percentage of your population have never solved that problem using an app before. So how do you intend to influence user behavior in order for them to make use of that app before you introduce the product? How can you solve that problem?
Okay, thank you for that question. There's something that Amazon also. Okay, so I think Amazon Techies, yes. Before they push out a feature, they would write a what's it called now? I can't remember what exactly it's called, but they would, yeah, a press release. Yeah, they would write a press release. I think Uber does the same thing. Stripe also does it. They would write a press release and um, tell the users about the feature that is that they are going to launch. With that, they collect data. Yeah, so that is just one way of collecting data to know how excited the users are about that feature. So what you have to do is you need to collect data. And there are different means by which you can collect data. You need to collect data. You can collect data with a prototype. Yeah, you can collect data with emails. If you have an email list, you can collect data with a demo. Yeah, there are different ways by which you can collect data. So you need to first of all test it. Yeah, these users haven't used it before. You first of all need to ensure that your user experience is frictionless. Remember what I said about Paystack? Your user experience has to be frictionless. When your user experience is frictionless, it increases your adoption rates because customers don't want to have what you say is a solution now become a problem for them. They don't want your solution to become a problem for them. Yeah, so you need to ensure that the user experience is frictionless. Then find ways to get it in front of the users to test. You can also have testers on board. Yeah, testers that would test it and give you feedback from the user perspective. So when you collect data like this, you will now use it to measure and know what your adoption rate is going to look like. If your adoption rate is high, it means this is good. Let's push it out. If your adoption rate is low, ask yourself questions. Why is our adoption rate low? What is the blockage here? What is acting as a blocker? It's always good that you collect feedback first. It's always good that you collect data first. From that data, when you take that data apart, you would know the right questions to ask, to know whether to know what to do so that your adoption rate can rise before you now go ahead to ship that product. Do you understand?
Yes, understood. Thank you very much.
All
Okay.
right. Thank you.
All right. So we move on to the next. We'll move on to the next question. Time is
Try to raise your hand.
all right. Thank you for muting yourself. So the next question is from Kingdom. Kingdom says, I don't have leverage of coming in contact with my target user. So how do I really get a perception of what my users want? Okay. In cases like this, can I make use of intuition? All right. That question is for you, Daniel. Kingdom is asking that.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. So this ties to the last reply I gave. Yeah, it ties to the last reply that I gave. The reply I gave to Olamide. Yeah. So knowing what your users want, test. You would need to test. Yeah, testing would reveal um, the minds of your users. Yeah. So when you test properly, if you have various mediums of testing, yeah, you stand a better chance of knowing what your users want. Also, we have AI, use ChatGPT. create a user profile, put it into ChatGPT, create a product profile, put it into ChatGPT, then tell ChatGPT to create use cases for you and tell you if that product is actually solving, the pain points of your user. All right. So back to what I said about ICP, your ideal customer profile. You need to understand who your customers are. You need to understand what pain points your product is solving. Then when you marry it, ask yourself, is this pain point my product solving actually solving the pain points of my customers? All right.
All right. I believe, Kingdom, you are also satisfied with our response. So we have another person. Um, we have Cool Matter. Is that Prosper? Prosper, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Um, yeah, good afternoon. Yeah. Uh, so I'd like to ask a question. First of all, I'd like to appreciate you for what you said so far. They are quite insightful, and I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome.
It has helped
Thank you.
me go back to, or it will help me to go back and streamline my product I'm currently working on. So the question is this. So I'm a full stack website developer or web developer. Now I'm trying to build a product, and at the same time I'm trying to please the users. I want to make this product possible for users to be able to use it. No stress, no friction for them to understand it. Now I'm solving a problem for them as well, and my platform is kind of like the middleman. So in a case whereby trying to please the users and also trying to set a principle for this platform or for the company, how far can I bend to be able to please my users without changing the concept of my idea or without changing the concept of my platform? How much can I bend to be able to please users? Because I don't want a situation whereby I'm trying to please users and at the end of the day they change the whole concept of the platform in the first place. So that's my question. I don't know if you can throw light on that for me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So, in copywriting, yeah, there's something that copywriters call killing your darlings. So you have something that is very dear to you, something that is like a darling to you, and you have to kill it so that you can actually put out what is needed. Yeah. So what copywriters do is after they have written a draft, they'll go through the draft and eliminate things that shouldn't be there so that the draft is more succinct. Yeah. It doesn't have fluff. It doesn't have so much it's not too wordy. Yeah. They have a script that is, sharp. Yeah. So in the course of doing this, there are some things that you would have written in that script that you're like, ah, no, I can't let this thing go. This is a punchline. But the truth is, that thing is just a punchline. It's not a value add. It sounds nice, but it's not really adding value to the entire script. It just sounds nice. Now, this is where we differentiate nice to have from mission critical. Yeah. So you knowing how to kill your darling will ensure that you are building the right thing. So what you are building, you have to be truthful to yourself. Am I solving? Remember what I said about the African reality? Yeah. Am I being true to myself about what the market reality in Africa is? It's just like Netflix now trying to thrive in Africa, a place where people, even though they have found a way to stop um, sharing, the login details and all, people still find a way to bypass it. Canva, people are literally selling Canva Pro for 900 naira. There are some other platforms, CapCut too, the same thing. People are selling CapCut Pro for like 8,000 naira. And it is affecting the revenue that these companies are getting from here. is really affecting. I'm not saying it's not been done in other places. I am just focusing on here. Yeah. So we already know that subscription model, the chances of subscription model not scaling like they want to scale, the chances of them not scaling here is very high. They have a very high chance not to scale like they want to scale here. So let's be true to ourselves when we are building. If you are building something, and by the time you go to your target market, you find out that your target market is the language they are speaking is not aligning with the language you are speaking with your product. Why don't you look at what they are saying and solve for that? Because that is already a ready market. Yeah. What you have built, you might be so tied to it, you might be so bound to it that, oh no, I can't let this thing go. It's my baby, that kind of thing. But if you know that by the time you push this thing, the market is not likely to really accept it. It's frictionless, it's good, but the market is not likely to really accept it. Why don't you then tweak that product to ensure that it is actually targeting the pain points of the market? That way, you have a better chance of scaling. So I think that you need to look at what is very dear to you here and ask yourself, is this thing really fixing the pain points of this audience? If not, how can I pivot? You don't have to change the product. All you might just have to change is the strategy. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it is. Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being part of this section today. Our time is fast spent already. I believe you've done justice to almost all the questions. Just to a little bit, buttress your point on the last question, right? When you are building a product, it's something we call user-centered design, right? And a design thinking process. So the first method of this design thinking process is what we call empathy. That's like the first stage. You empathize with the target customers, the target market that you are trying to build a solution for, right? So when you don't empathize, hear from them, get to know what they need, not what you think they need, right? So if you are building what you think they need, you might be building for failure, right? But if you build for what they actually need by empathizing with the target users, then you are building for success. So that is, I will leave you with that, to also, ponder on that, right? So go back to the drawing board, refine your idea, and be sure that you are building what the user actually need, not what you think they need. All right. Yeah, we have practically come to the end of this section. If we don't have any other question, so on behalf of IT Skill Center, I would like to appreciate Daniel for, out of your busy schedule, right? You create time for us to be part of this section with us today. Really appreciate you for sharing your knowledge with us today, and also thank every one of you for joining us and then contributing to the discussion, right? Remember, I used to say this a lot. I said this last Wednesday. Ideas are only powerful when you act on them. So keep learning, keep building, and keep innovating. Thank you, everyone. And this brings us to the end of this seminar for today. And see you guys same time next week, Wednesday, by the special grace of God. So from my side here, it is bye for now.
Thank you all very much. Thank you to IT Skills Center.
Thank you,
Have
Daniel.
a pleasant day, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.